Hey there everybody. Are you wanting your viewer to focus on a specific object in your video? Well, good news for you. We'll be covering that today with some focus effects in Olive. Welcome to the Digital Paul Workshop. It is I, the item that your camera wants to focus on that you don't want focus on, Techno Meow Tinkerer. Let's log on in. So the first focus effect I'm going to show you how to do is kind of known as the focus isolation or selective focus. It can also be referred to as subject isolation, background blur. It's basically a type of depth of field effect that we're simulating. And so right now I'm going to show you two ways how to do it. The first way, I'm just going to create a new image. I usually work in 1920 by 1080, but whatever video format pixel size you need to work on that. And then I'm just going to bring in this picture here, insert into new layer. It is my YouTube page, yes, selfless promotion. And we're just going to kind of bring it up to about the full length of this thing. There we go. That's pretty much full length. Now what I'm going to end up doing here is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to export this out as frame 1. Just do it frame 1. And I want to do this as a JPEG. It depends on what you're wanting to do, but since I'm just doing this real quickly, I want to do this as a JPEG. Now let's just pick one of these, whatever one. We'll just go with Uraka and Deku will be embarrassed, and we'll just grab a marquee, and I'm going to sit here and do this. I'm going to cut, then I'm going to paste. That puts me in a new layer, and then we're just going to come in here and let me get rid of some of the stuff, and I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this white border here with the marquee tool. And then I'm just actually this one I'm going to want to save as a PNG. This is where the type of file format really plays into the effect. So we're going to do a PNG, and that's because I want the transparent background. And so now we go over to Olive, and then I'm just going to bring in my frame 1, and then I'm going to bring in my frame 2. And yeah, you can't tell no difference. Like I said, this is kind of an easy way to go about doing it. And here I can go ahead and set my keyframe for my opacity if I want to. Let's first things first. We want to do the let's delete that. I'm going to need that eventually too, but I want to bring in my blur. Where is there's my blur at the top. And you got different ones, so we're going to bring in my blur tool. I'm actually going to kind of let's see, let's go about 2 seconds in. That's where we want the keyframe. So we'll do our keyframe here. Back here we'll bring this down to 0. And so now when it goes, it should go, as you see, goes slowly blurry. I can actually move this keyframe a little bit closer so it'll speed up faster. Now I do want to kind of make the background disappear, so we'll kind of go back to where this keyframe is at. So I want to set my opacity. Well, let's go first back here. I want to go ahead and get my opacity, and then probably about right there where my other keyframe is at, I want to drop this down to say, let's say 50. Now I did that, so we can now see it zooms in, it blurs the background, it kind of darkens, not zooms in. Well, if we want to zoom in, the easiest way would be the nest. Let's highlight both tracks, click nest, and now actually before we do that, I kind of want to keep all the let's see, let's go where my keyframe is at. Now I want to nest, and you can do it without nesting. It ain't that hard, but I find nesting is easier when you want to have the same effect go across multiple tracks. I guess you call these tracks. Anyway, we'll click here. I want to, let's see, we want to do our zoom. So zoom here, and then we put a keyframe there, come back to the beginning, and I want to just go back to my normal zoom size. So boom, now it zooms in, it focuses on the video I wanted to focus on, and that dulls the background. And so this is basically the first way you can do it, and I recommend this if you're masking, do it if your masking features in your video editor is limited, because here in Premiere you're kind of limited to how you can mask things. So I'm going to delete these, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete the sequence, delete the nest. And the second way I'll just show you is that you can just take the same frame twice, and I'm going to actually disable this one so I can see what I'm doing here. Come in here, go to my distort, go to crop, and then I can just come in and I can kind of crop down to the level. And this, before I do that, I'm gonna lock my panels. That way they don't jump around all over on me. And come in and bring this in so I can kind of see what I'm doing, and then I can kind of come in and crop the bottom, the top. And this gets tedious because it'd be nice if you could zoom in on. I hadn't figured out how you can zoom in on this panel here to get what you want. Oops. Let's see, 36. And yeah, you may have to sit here and type in. That's why I did the Krita one first, using Krita or whatever photo editor you want to use, because it's a lot simpler and easier to get precise in that than it is in Olive. Well, yep, 45 is too much. 44. Whoops, I said 44, not 4. And boy, 45 is too much. 44 is not enough. 44.5. So that gives me that, and I can just bring in. Come on, right click, enable, and then I can kind of go through and do some of the same stuff like we did earlier. So I may want to go ahead and blur this, box blur, and you can kind of really get into actually really wanting blurred if you want to. My keyframe, go ahead and do my opacity keyframe. We'll do this down to, we'll go 30 this time. Then we'll come back here to beginning. I'll move this back to 100, and we'll drop this down to 0. And then when I zoom, or not zoom, but when I play, it darkens. You see, I still got the white corner there and how that's cut off. So that's another reason why I prefer using Krita, because Olive is limited. But if you're working of just a rectangle or square like that, you wouldn't have to worry. Now, like I said, you can zoom, and we'll get back to right here, and we'll click in our zoom thing, and I'll just come here and we'll do this, and then we'll just go back to our normal size here. So it does it. So you don't have to nest. I just like nesting because to me it helps keeps everything together. And the group, so if I wanted to actually do a whole lot of other movement, I can just work on one thing and having to work on others. And so that's the first of the focus effects we just covered. On to the next. The next focusing effect I want to show you how to do is called the rack focus, or the focus pull. I'm guessing this has to do back when we actually using cameras to zoom in and zoom out by moving the camera itself. But so here we're going to show, I already got a scene set up. One is nested because it's multiple images, and the other one is just my normal backdrop. And so I'm just going to come here, select all of it, and I'm going to go ahead and give a blur, since I'm going to be blurring both of them. So right now my nested image, I'm actually going to want a 0 because I want that clear. And then we're going to come down here to this mark, and then I'm going to move this. Let's see, let's go ahead and make sure we have our keyframes connected for both of these, because I'm going to need it. Let's see, yep, both keyframes are on. And so now I'm going to come here, and I'm going to want this to be clear here, and I'm going to want this to go in the blur there. So this way you see it goes from one to the other. And then also, you can zoom in if you want to, so it can explain why, because you can actually zoom in. Let's see if we zoom in. Well, let's see. Yeah, zoom in here, scale. Do our thing here, and then we come back over here, and we'll do it here. And I'll scale this, and now we zoom in everything. Although technically, I probably should actually, since this is 120, I probably should have this actually 100. So it'll probably make sense to why. And then this is the 120. Oops, I didn't do something right on the background. Let's select. Let's move this back over here. And we'll undo this. Yes. I want this to be scaled at 100 here. We'll do this, and then we'll come back here, and we'll put this at 120. There we go. That way it makes sense for why one's getting blurrier and the other one's getting clearer. And so that's what you have for your rack focus or your focus pool. And that's just a couple focus effects you can use in your video editing to help draw the viewer to what you want them to focus on. And of course, if you like my content, you can go to these websites right here to support me in different ways. The links are in the description for some of these, as well as you can like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone you think might find it interesting. And if you want to look at doing some more field of depth effects, or at least the illusion of depth, I recommend you check out my video, Mastering Parallax, a step-by-step guide with Olvie Video Editor and Krita. Until next time, have a nice day.